Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our first webinar on the series of Khair al-Dhuruf. Our first topic today is going to be about body, mind, and soul. And we have our two guests, which I believe we know them through their activities and being very active throughout their pages and whatever they do to add value to the country and to the youth and to the others. If I start introducing the guest in details, I believe 1 hour is not going to be enough because of whatever they have been doing since the beginning. So I will take this opportunity to welcome you all, our colleagues and our community from OQ to this series and to see how can we manage our body, mind and soul during the pandemic, and we learn the best lessons and we start implementing them through our lives. So I would like to welcome here our guests. Sayyida Basma, thank you very much for being with us. Ahmed, thank you very much for being with us.
Pleasure.
So very brief about Sayyida Basma, which I believe she has participated in a lot of activities. So she's a well-established psychotherapist and clinical hypnotherapist, owner and founder of the first mental health center in Oman, Whispers of Sanity. She's also a mental health consultant and psychotherapist with over 20 years experience. At the same time, Sayyida has been participated in many campaigns, and one of the campaigns is Not Alone. Plus, she has been recognized in the Arab world and many other international related activities about her value added to whatever she's doing. On the other hand, Ahmed, nevertheless, is Oman's top racing driver, first circuit racer, and one of the Sultanate's leading international sportsmen. Over the years, he has competed in more than 200 races with over 80 podium finishes, which is an achievement with Ahmed and his age and whatever he has done in his career so far. So welcome again. and we will start our webinar on body, mind, and soul with some questions related to that and taking it across, and how did this affect pandemic, and how can we manage from your experience looking at all of these three elements. So we're going to start. I hope that we are ready. Okay, so our first topic, or the first element, is the mind, of course. I would like to start with you, Your Highness. During the pandemic, the health of the mind is really emphasized. Why is it so important from your point of view?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for this lovely webinar and being here with the amazing Ahmed, who's always with us and not alone, and being with an old colleague, which is quite interesting. Lovely place you have here, and Ramadan Kareem to all of you. The mind. The mind is the headquarter of the body, as we know. And if we go into the scientific bit, it's a bit too nitty gritty. But a lot of people seem to think that the mind is not as important as the body. I love how you guys have put body, mind, body, and soul, because it is together, it works. But you started with mind, I'm thinking. So with the pandemic, and a lot of things maybe we'll say today, we've probably said it before, but this is the second year of the pandemic. So we've actually grown in understanding it more and how it's affecting us. Once your mind doesn't function as well, actually nothing in your life functions as well. And we take it for granted. And I think it's very interesting that it took a pandemic to let us realize how important the mind and mental health is. Although we've been talking about this for years and years, but nevertheless, we always try and take the positive of everything. So focusing on the mind, the headquarter, as in every company and in every establishment we have, is the most important thing. Once you are able to have a balanced mind, then your life is more balanced.
Very true. And as we said, we have been talking about it from the beginning, but this is the time that we started implementing it. And many people realize that if you have the mental health, if your mind is working fine and you're able to cope up, you will cope up, because this is the second year. Yes. And we don't know for how long it's going to continue.
That's true. Yeah.
Ahmed, we all know the importance of mental game in the sports, right? And as Sayyida Basma said, this is the headquarters. So again, when it comes to you as a sports person, how do you think the right presence of mind can decide or can intervene in losing or winning a game?
First of all, again, it's a pleasure being here with you at OQ. Thank you for having us. And it's always amazing to have Sayyida Basma with us, especially on the topic of mind. And as she said, I've been lucky enough to be a part of a previous campaign. For me personally, I'll reiterate the concept of how important the mind is for an athlete, and more specifically for a racing driver such as myself. I started back in 2006, and it took me a few years to realize how important the mind aspect was in terms of my racing. And it was only till I really understood the philosophy of what works for me personally, made me a better athlete, made me a better person as well. In terms of the mind, in terms of what goes on during a race weekend or during a race itself or prior to a race, we have different aspects of it. For me personally, it starts off the racetrack. How do I become stronger in the way I think, in the way I act, in the way I prepare myself? And as we said, it's mind then body. We'll talk about the body later, but for me personally, from the mind aspect, it was always very important during my career when I was given news I didn't want to hear, or when I was put in situations I thought I wouldn't have been put in these situations prior to even the racing side. For example, the barriers to entry into a racing is very high, especially for a person like me, the first circuit racer from Oman. It's never been done before. So I had faced a lot of aspects prior to even going on the racetrack. And initially it put me down. It put me, I wouldn't say depressed, but it put me into a situation where I had to fight and come out of and be more positive, optimistic, really, really focusing on those areas more than anything else and trying to take all the positives. For example, I was asked a long time ago, how would you compete? And you're coming from a country with no racetrack. So that's a negative question already been put to me. So I come back and I tell them I traveled thousands of miles away and I come back with a trophy. How do you feel having a racetrack 5 minutes away from your house? Alhamdulillah, in that aspect. But also on the other side of thing is, I think it, for me personally, as Sayyida Basma has mentioned, we are in a pandemic. We are in a situation we've never been before. Alhamdulillah, I think that, you know, I try and take those same characteristics, the foundation elements of my racing, and put it where I am today as a person, as an individual, not as an athlete or so on, but as a father, a husband, and try and take that and make it positive to my family as well. They need that positivity around them when there's so much negativity happening. And if we can try and translate some of that into slight positivity, we'd come out stronger. And especially now, as you said, you know, we've been 2 years into this, and that is what I feel. You know, there are so many ways of coaching the mind where, you know, we've got a professional here who can, you know, go into those details. But for me personally, it's about trying and keeping the mind strong. You know, for example, in the past, prior to the pandemic, there was always a race for me that I was always looking up to and always looking forward to competing in. A 24-hour race, a race that we go on for 24 hours. So from the beginning of the season, I'm thinking about that race mentally, preparing for it, going through the ups and downs. And it's very interesting that maybe I'll cover it in the second part, inshallah, is what happens when the mind is controlling the body.
Very well said. And again, it depends how do you translate the messages into either challenges or either getting depressed, like whatever the example that you have given. So it's all here. The way you take it, you process it, and you start working. And it's all, as we said, it's all related. So thank you very much for these sharing of these experiences with us. Just a quick one. We all know that brain is a kind of muscle, right? And mind is part of it. And we need to exercise it, right? If you don't exercise, even whatever you're doing, if you don't exercise, you either tend to lose or forget. So exercising the mind during this pandemic and looking into it in a positive way, how do you practice that, Sayyida Basma?
I think Ahmed hit home with what he said. I would say his position is way more harder than anyone else because his thing is traveling and you're doing races, and now he's here. But what's making him go on?
Yeah.
This is the interesting part. I would say it's being mindful. It's being mindful of everything you have. In this pandemic, I think the most thing that we need to do is be mindful, is keep busy. The moment we sit, we become psychologically paralyzed and we start taking these hits and these punches of negativity. It's very easy to get negative thoughts and accept negativity because everybody around us is all upset. But living in the moment and actually thinking, I'm breathing where others are not able to breathe. I'm able to function throughout the day. Yes, it maybe isn't like before, but it's not a situation like before. So the idea, which I hear so many times, I want things to go like before. I want us to be like before. Instead of making our brains work to aspire to something better, it's like we want to stick in one position. Now, the biggest question is, why do you want to go back to before? Was it that amazing? There was so much things in the world that were not okay before. Why not aspire that what's coming may be even better? You know, so this for me, the pandemic is like a pause. And it's very interesting. So we're doing this new hashtag with the Ministry of Health, which is called Pause, Breathe, and Choose. And I would say that's a bit also like the race, right? You're pausing, you're thinking what you're going to, and you go for it. That's what we all need to do. So to keep on going, it's easy to say, I can't do it. Life is so difficult. And the kids and the wife and the job, it's easy. So challenge yourself now and make it not easy by thinking in a positive way, by challenging your brain to think more mindful, living the moment. The little things in life. Yes, we're in a pandemic. Yes, it isn't good. Let's not make it too narrow. It isn't normal. We have to come and go with masks. We don't know how long we're going to come and go with masks. We use this like a cologne now. This is the new Chanel, for example. And it's not normal. We walk outside, we see people, we only see eyes. Where before, when we saw things like this, we'd be like, what is wrong with this? Why are they, we used to see a lot of countries in Asia wear it for a long time ago. And we think, That's weird. Why are they doing that? But we didn't used to care. Even when this pandemic happened, we were like, oh, it's far away. It's far away. It's so interesting how God said, you know what? I'm going to show you how it feels. And it's a test for you to actually pause and reflect on what you have. Being grateful, being mindfulness is the key. And if we're going to leave this pandemic without learning that, then we've lost. We have lost a lot of lives. It is extremely sad, and it can make you, as I said, psychologically paralyzed. Up till today, you're thinking, what, again? It's like 2020 March all over again, but a bit worse. So now it's not fear as much as frustration. I think it's become like, we're doing this again, but look how much we've learned. As you know, doctor, that from all the species, the humans are the most that can adapt. We've adapted. Maybe some of us have adapted a bit too much and gone on the, would say, the wild side where they think there's nothing going on. But in the end, if we bring it down and simplify it, that it's being mindful, it's living the moment, it's being thankful and grateful, working together. Ahmed is one of those people who I'm very grateful for. The moment you ask him to do something before the pandemic, he'll be like, yes, it's to do with mental health. So he has that aspect. That's why in the pandemic, he's doing okay. Yeah, I'm hoping.
I hope so.
Shall we call home and ask? But he's semi. So a lot of people say, you know, with the pandemic, so many mental health issues have erupted and happened. They've erupted, but they were always there.
Yeah.
I've always said this, and who sees me knows that I say that it's like we brought a big magnifying glass and it's just showed us you had depression, oh, now it's bigger. You had OCD, well, now it's big. But it's the same. If you had domestic violence, it didn't pop up in the pandemic. There was some symptoms, and now this has made it. So living in the moment, being mindful, thankful that we're breathing. There's a lot of people who are not able to breathe. And that's what I would take from this.
Very well said. It is again, we should be thankful that we are breathing, we are alive, we are doing much better compared to many.
Yeah.
And again, as you said, we all know human beings' nature is very resistant to change. I don't want to leave my comfort zone.
Yeah.
If I'm comfortable, I don't want to change. Even if it's for better, I don't want to take the risk.
Yeah.
So we want to, many people, as you said very correctly, and we all know, I wish we go back in time, and that's why they call it BC, before COVID, you know. But again, this is an opportunity, a learning for all of us. Maybe we are doing things we can do it in a better way. So let's learn, take it as an opportunity. It is a test from God for everybody, learning stage, and let's move on. And as you have said very clearly, Sayyida Basma, the issues were existing.
Yeah.
It's just popping up now more.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people's lives changed.
Very much.
The kids' example at home online. Parents are sitting at home. Things have changed completely. As you said, now we don't realize people.
It's more in focus.
It's very focusing,
Yes.
magnifying, so you can see a lot of issues are coming up. Well, if you start to continue, or we should continue talking about the mind, I believe this is going to take very long, and we all know mind is the headquarters. So if you go back to the body, Ahmed is an athlete. We all know that athletes do face injuries and endurance fatigue and pain. How does a person come back from that and recovers to a healthier body after facing all of these challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question, and it's something that we overlooked maybe in the beginning of our career, and it was also overlooked by other other drivers in the past as well. It was Michael Schumacher, who was one of the most inspirational figures in combining a racing driver known as a proper athlete. You know, he was not the youngest, but at the same time, he was the fittest, the fastest. And it was just then when people started realizing how important, your body's fitness is in the sport we currently do. But at the same time, from a personal point of view, that wasn't one of the things I had focused on when I started racing, the body. I had focused on trying to get Oman into circuit racing. I had tried to focus on the corporate identity I would love to have and companies I would work with and being partners with. And unfortunately, I left the body element as the last thing I should be concerned about. It was not till I went to the UK and started racing professionally from our point of view more for amateur professional from a UK point of view, was I used to realize, oh, wow, look what my competitors would be doing. Look at the amount of kilometers they'd be running, going to the gym 5 times a week, focusing on their body that much, focusing on what they were eating, and so on and so forth. I realized, and I started building on that more and more. And since we're talking about a pandemic and we're talking about how important our body is, that was one of the first things I started continuing was, look, I used to train 5 days a week. How can I train 5 days a week in my house when we were never on a lockdown, we were on a semi-lockdown. But how could I do that at home with the least equipment? I never knew I could get so much material out of YouTube. I never knew I could actually get better at home in certain elements, recover as well. I never had time to recover from certain things during a racing period, you know. I use that as an opportunity to recover and actually get better in the body side of things, although without having the full equipment I would usually use. So it was more of again, you know, I could have, you know, easily said or looked at and seen others says, you know what, it's a pandemic, we're not doing anything, I'm staying at home, I don't have to focus on it. Racing has been halted. You know, one of the first things that got affected during the pandemic was the sports.
Yes.
And then people realize, and I'm sure Sayyid Besman will agree with me, is we'll realize how much the general public, how much the spectators, how much the people who are not directly involved with it were getting out of it. You know, the positivity out of sports, watching it, following it, and so on and so forth. I'm lucky enough to have traveled and been a part of a race weekend during a pandemic. I witnessed firsthand what it was like, coming back to the mind as well, since it's so important. Going onto an airplane after maybe for me personally, 8 months of not traveling, and just sitting on a plane and saying, wow, you know, alhamdulillah, we took it. I mean, I used to fly so much, you know, during race weekends, and for granted, you know, I'd just wake up the next morning, I'd be in Oman. But now the whole process changed. Just going into an airport felt different, going onto a plane felt different, and just think about how easy things were. So if we do not learn from these tests that we've been given and better our mind, but more importantly, better our body, we wouldn't come out of this in a positive way. We have to learn from these elements as well.
Agreed, because as you've said very clearly, there are a lot of other options that we can still continue. Though the gyms are closed, but we can do many things at home, right? With minimum of equipments.
Yeah, you know, to add on that, sorry to interrupt, but just to add on that, for example, a person could be talented,
yeah,
and a person could be as talented, but the person who works harder, spends more time focusing on his mind, on his body, yeah, can get there to another level. You know, I like to use, and I used it in before, Usain Bolt, for example. You know, we all know how talented he is, but behind the scenes, he works so hard to make sure that his body can adapt to his talent. While the other one says, I'm talented, but I can just chill and relax. Who is the winner out of it? You know, you've got someone who is a world record breaker, and someone who we don't know because he never gave that extra push, although he could have been more talented.
Exactly. So looking at the body, as we all know, Your Highness, is more than the exercise. What are the key factors of sustaining a healthy body during the pandemic? Again, from your perspective.
I don't want to lie and act all like professional. Okay.
That's the best.
Let's be honest.
Especially you're fasting.
Yeah, fasting. The pandemic added some other aspects, right? So the excitement was food in a weird, wrong way. And I remember there were so many jokes about, oh my God, how are we going to pass through the door? How are we going to sustain, you know, all of this? Because the happy part of it was, let's order something and eat, you know, oh, it's a magic wand and it will make us happy. Of course, within the months, it was like, this is not a good thing. It's not a happy thing, but it was easy because you were feeling low and it was more emotional eating, if you may. But I think I have noticed, as Ahmed just said, in this time, so many people went to sports. So many people started hiking. Hiking was like the number one, let's all hike. Walking was always the thing, but the hiking was a lot. The moving around, going to lots of places in Oman. There was a lot of movement, which we had it all these years. Again, we didn't see it except now. At home, personally, and if my husband is watching, he would agree to this. Every afternoon, he would take out the kids to go and do something in the garden, because we needed them to remember that the most normal we can be.
Yeah.
So study, we're all studying, and now we're going to have lunch, then we're going to go out to the garden, we're going to play, then we're going to come back, we're going to sit. So moving your body is very important. And when you don't, you feel like your mind is not okay, and now also your body is not okay, then leading your soul will not be okay. You know, it's a chain, as you guys are talking about now. So, but it has been a challenge, the body part. I mean, your mind is telling you, you do need to do something, but it's the idea of, but I'm not feeling that happy now. So can I just eat this now? And then I feel bad about it, kind of thing. But definitely, we always tell our clients who come in with, if they have anxiety or depression or any kind of symptom, do sports. And when we say sports, we don't mean go and hit the gym and, walk. Go with nature, do whatever you feel is okay for you. Not everybody is into yoga, not everybody is into weight. So we can't, it's not a dress that fits all. So you have to do what you feel, but just doing that little bit and congratulating yourself that you're doing it is a big thing. But some people then move to another thing where they go over with the body thing, and then they start not eating. I know a lot of people now who don't want to eat at all because they lost weight, and now they're fearful that if we eat, we're just going to, erupt. So yes, it does. And it takes a lot of strength and, mashallah, I can't.
I agree. I agree with what Sayyida has been saying. Sayyida Basma has been saying. I totally agree. I mean, look, by all means, I'm not a perfect figure in anything in that sense, but because, for example, I would tell myself, okay, I'm going to have these 4 packs of Doritos, but it's because I did my 20K or 30K on the bike, so I deserve it.
But it makes you feel good.
So yeah, so I'm trying to tick both boxes because, as you said, we during the pandemic, one of the things that really moved really fast within Oman itself was the ability to have, without mentioning the company's names, to have delivery to your doorstep, which never existed to the levels they are today. We were slightly behind.
It's like a magic wand.
Yeah, you just 2 buttons and you've got your food delivered, which is great. A lot of people, when you're talking about discovering Oman,
I think that
Oman has always been here. The internal tourism factor of it is more of an adventurous style of tourism, which is great. I looked at, for example, buying another bike, cycling on the streets. Everything is sold out. Worldwide, there was a shortage. The bikes were going at premiums of 20% during a pandemic. So you can imagine, as you said, hopefully a lot of people have picked up these positive aspects of training the body.
And looking after their body, like when I started to see families going on for big walks, and it was like a group. Every time there was groups, and I was thinking, oh, is that okay? I mean, with the pen, because it's outside. So, and which is very interesting. So May is coming, and the month of May is Mental Health Month, and this year it's to do with nature. Just kind of funny because we were not allowed much to go out, around the world, but this is how important nature is to a human being. So here, I'm talking about Oman, of course, all the world, we combined body with mind when people started to walk and started to understand everything they might have not done before. Pre-COVID, maybe nobody would have went for hikes, but they want to do something. So for me, it's a positive. As Ahmed said, they've learned a new skill now. And also it's a positive for Oman to show how it's always been there. There's so much beauty that we always, at every holiday, we're like, oh, let's travel. Again, it needed COVID to highlight that you have beautiful places to go here.
Exactly.
It's bonding with the families. I also always say that when I travel abroad and I go to racetracks and I see the young fans coming through wanting posters to be signed and so on and so forth, you see generations with them. You see the child, you see the father, you see the grandfather, grandmother, both sex, they're all of them over there, all of them going through something, wanting to leave the house, wanting to come to an event. So we see that in Oman happening during a pandemic, where usually a parent wouldn't do that bonding time for some for previous reasons, but now they found that time. As you said,
Yes.
your husband scheduled the time,
Yes.
says, okay, online learning finishes at 2. At 4 o'clock, I want you out in the garden. Now, alhamdulillah, we're blessed to have gardens.
Alhamdulillah.
Some families were not able to even have a garden outside their house. So they must have tried to do something inside the house. So utilize that and look at it from a positive
Very,
angle.
very true. And that gratefulness comes in again, because
Exactly.
other countries, as Ahmed said, they're living in a very small space, and they are used to that the house is only for eating and going to sleep. They spend all day outside. So this is a big test for them. So when we talk about things, we also have to be mindful that others might not have this.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean we can't also be thankful and say that we're thankful we have it.
It's all opportunities. How do we take it and you change it into positivity? As you said,
Exactly.
like Oman has been always there. And again, if you see most of the people that they're same residents of the country, they rather explore outside
Definitely.
than the country itself.
Definitely.
And again, I believe whenever we all travel, we go and visit a lot of places. Like if you ask the natives, they don't know where is that place.
Yeah.
So the same was happening. So this was an opportunity again to explore the country and how beautiful Oman is.
Very true.
Okay, so going back to the soul, say the best man, what is your definition of the soul as a psychologist? And what is the importance of a healthy soul?
This, I think with every age changes. As you grow older, you become wiser, I guess, and you answer the question a bit more. Of course, soulfulness, I would say, it depends on the person. Again, it depends. I think maybe Ahmed has another kind of idea. You have another kind of way of being. But the soul itself is something, I would say, you can't really explain what it is. It's a feeling. It's a feeling, it's a being, it's connected, as you said. Some people, when they joke, and they say, oh my God, you have no soul. And you think, why is it something that you attach and then you detach? It's something that it's in a personality, I think, as well. And it's interesting. Why do we always think, it happens in Ramadan? You feel it grows a bit more, the soulfulness, the spirituality, right? So maybe it's connected as well as feeling at peace, feeling the love, feeling connected. It's not something that somebody can give to you. Even if I teach you how to be soulful, that's not going to happen if you don't have it within you. But also, it's connected to having balance in your life. It's connecting to how you were brought up, where you brought up. Some people think music is soulful, for example. Some people think books they read, religion. So everybody has their own thing that feeds it. For me personally, I'd like to touch on base on something. I don't know if it's connected, but I always feel that being passionate ignites all of these things. And I'll explain why. So sometimes you could give up, right? You're working, as actually exactly what Ahmed said. Some people work. There's two people who are working. Some people work and go home, khalas, finish. Some people work, but they're so passionate about what they're doing. They love what they're doing. And here it comes the soulfulness in it as well, because they actually enjoy it. It's not just, in the end of the month, I'm going to get a certain amount of money. It's actually, how much am I giving as Besma? For me, when it comes to mental health, it's a passion. And I've loved it from the beginning. And because I'm able to love it, I'm able to give as much as I can and be so soulful about it that even to extent if somebody is not doing much for it, it actually makes me upset. And I think it's because I only learned recently that I think it's because I love it so much. Like if I were to do the campaign for Not Alone, and I would say I want somebody to help out in the campaign, they'll say, oh, we can't. And I'll be like, how can't you? It's so important, and I wouldn't be like, oh, okay, fine. I'd actually feel, how is this person's soul? See, this is how it comes in. I mean, I feel it's so important. So again, it's passion, it's love to what you have, and it's how you were brought up. Were you brought up in an environment where it's important to have a good soul? Or was it not even talked about and you developed it later on or not? So it's a very deep question, Dr. Ali.
I know it is.
But it's a lovely one, and it attaches to those two. And it gave me the opportunity of talking about passion. When I hear Ahmed, I hear passion. He could have easily went, this is so boring, nothing is working. but he found solution. It's passion. You guys also, why are you here now? Well, besides, okay, it's a job, but it's passion. Maybe there's part of it. Maybe there's part of it that's a passion. There's so many people that we work with, and we get so influenced by them because we feel, wow, they really like what they're doing. There's something special here. And you sit with someone else and he'll talk about work, but he'll complain the whole time about it. Then you're like, oh my God, I'm not sitting with that person again. But you'd want to sit with that one because you're learning from them. So being soulful or having a soul is also, maybe I could add, a learning curve. It could be that as well. You learn from people how to have this kind of lovely feeling. And you would say that, right? That person is so full of, his soul is so nice.
Liveliness, full of
And
joy.
you don't
Yes.
say that a lot to people unless it's a really nice person. So I don't know. Ahmed's going to answer that one.
Let's see how does
Well,
Ahmed answer that.
to begin with, I was so happy that Sayyidah Basma was here because she took the professional side of things. Because when you asked me about the soul, I was
And that's why I started with her.
thank you for doing that. But for me, it's very important, and I feel that it's very difficult to define. Everything you said, I agree with 100%. When someone asks me, I travel a lot. I race around the world, alhamdulillah. I go to places people have heard of Oman slightly, sometimes more than others, so forth. So they'd ask me, how do you define Oman compared to its neighbors or so? I use that word. I say Oman has a soul. That's my way of describing it. But then I end it with, but I'm biased because I'm from Oman and I love my country so much. The soul to me is something very difficult to describe. But I think amongst us, we know what I mean when I say Oman has a soul. I think for me, racing has taught me to be passionate, as you said, very passionate. I understand 100% when you talk to someone about something and they don't want to be aboard it or don't want to be a part of it, and you just look at them and you says, how can you just not be a part of something like this? It's because you're passionate about it. For me, racing has made me a better person. It made me better from a spiritual point of view. So what I've gone through, what I've left behind, from a soul point of view, racing has made me a better person by being around a better bubble. And this is pre-COVID bubbles.
Yeah.
This is way before. This person doesn't add any value to me. Why is he part of my bubble? As you said, that soul, the soulness, we align one another. I think it has a lot to do with your upbringing. And for people who it hasn't been, it's them trying to get to be better people as well. I think also learning from others is very important. I have a family away from my family. I have a family that I call my family my racing team when I'm abroad. Sometimes you are with drivers who we don't share a lot of common grounds with. But when we're in the race car, we are doing a job that we're all passionate about and we want to succeed and we want to win. So we let aside our differences. And I say that in an organization such as OQ, such a large organization, I'm sure that you're not best friends with everybody you work with. But from a professional angle, that is who you are. And I feel that is also your soul. Are you the person who leaves work? You could be doing amazing at work, but that's it. Your day ends there, everything switches off at 5 p.m. Or you're the one who continues with that passion later. And for me personally, I think that, combining all these three topics together is what every individual is. I'm not talking myself about being a professional athlete. There could be someone behind a desk going through every synergy that I've mentioned in every way, So I really hope that we're able to come out of this in every aspect we talked about.
Inshallah. And I believe we are all working hard towards that, and every individual's efforts count because we are part of the family, we are part of the community, and we are the members of the country as well. Yeah. So now, as a final, putting all together, mind, body, and soul. Say the best, in short, if you can tell us, how do you advise us all to overcome the pandemic by working on the three elements? In short.
I'll say we can't overcome it because it's something very new, and we have to maybe try and adapt to it.
Adapt.
And I'll make it very short by saying just being mindful, thankful, and have gratitude. For me, that's the winning recipe. It's a very difficult one, but it's the only one. Living your day, day by day, for now, is the easiest you can do. Because thinking in a very wide, you can make plans. And if anything, we've learned how to make plans better than before. But just living day by day will be easier because we really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And maybe make that exciting that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Very interesting. Ahmed, from your point of view?
From my point of view, I feel we have to live our lives, but at the same time, respect everybody around us. For me, I feel if I live my life the way as if I have the virus, as if I'm affecting everyone else with it, and if I can combat that and says I take every precaution possible, and if we all live in that mentality, in that philosophy, I think we're able to defeat the virus much faster than what it's currently doing. Because as we've seen, wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3, these waves are getting worse every time. And everything we've discussed now, we have to have some form of this in our foundation for the future and for now. But for me, if we're able to fight this virus all together, simple things, wearing your mask, washing your hands, the simplest of things are the things that's going to help you come across. I'm going to link it with something that I've talked about in the past. We in Oman had for a very long time one of the highest death rates on roads, due to, unfortunately, many reasons. But I said, if we just focus on the concept of wearing seatbelts and car seats for the children, let's solve this big problem with small solutions. And here, the small solution during a pandemic, inshallah, will be trying to do the simplest of things and thinking of it as if we all have the virus and we don't affect our parents and grandparents with it. I hope we're able to come back and have this discussion sometime later and talk about this pandemic as something from the past, but something that we've learned from, inshallah.
If I can just add to that,
Sure.
a small, I think also what you said, maybe learning how to work together, being one team.
Yeah.
I think that's how we're going to get through this, and not being selfish. Because when you look after yourself, it's not only about you, as you said, it's also looking after who's around you. I think that's how teamwork is what's needed the most.
Exactly. And one of our values in OQ is share, care, dare. So we don't only take care of ourselves, we share the information, we dare when there's any actions to be taken for the health and safety of the other individual. So I believe you have mentioned earlier, last year it was a fear, and now it's a frustration.
It's a frustration plus
which is very clear. Like last year we were just, oh, COVID, but now, COVID, okay. Yeah. My friend got it and he's okay, but he does not remember 10 people died because of that. Many people got complications because of that. So again, it's an attitude, and how do you take it?
They're not being mindful of what's going on.
And you're not being thankful that, alhamdulillah, you are so far, you're doing much better and you're alive, and you're not being grateful, as well as you've mentioned very clearly as well. And as Ahmed said as well very clearly, it's again putting all together. And how do you want to learn and be positive out of it? And hopefully, inshallah, we'll be sitting sometime next year discussing this, and we're reflecting on the past, like during the pandemic, these are the lessons learned. Because if many people, unfortunately, think just azma ta'addi, وبعدين they don't reflect on how can I do things better? Because now, example, our kids are doing online schooling, our spouses, some of them are working from home, a lot of challenges, like we cannot go out that often, we cannot meet. So a lot of things have been there, but how do you reflect that into and change it into positivity? Bonding, like we all, based on our job, many of us, like we are either traveling in Oman or outside Oman, or long shifts or different shifts. We used to miss that family bonding time. So this is an opportunity. So how do we take things in a positive way, learn and move on, and pray that things will end up? But very important, we follow all the measures that we have to do. Me as an individual, I have a responsibility towards myself, towards my family, my colleagues, towards the country, which is following the basic steps.
Yes.
Ensuring that you're having the mask, keeping your hands clean, and avoiding the or maintaining the physical distancing. And again, if you're not feeling well, you should stay at home. So a lot of things, plus being agile, like being able to work from home in many positions.
Yes,
All right.
it's true.
So alhamdulillah, there are a lot of lessons learned as well. But again, how do you want to perceive that positively? Anything else you want to highlight as before we end, say the Basma?
No, I'm very thankful to be here. Honestly, I was a bit weary, I must say, that I thought, how will it be, you know? And I'm like really with the the measurements, but sometimes you need to, I guess, a bit see how it will be. And I'm very thankful. And again, as you said, this pandemic is a very difficult lesson, but it's a very meaningful lesson if we look at it on the other side. And hopefully we all meet up on more, I'm not going to say very positive, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, but we work towards helping each other by working as a team. This teamwork, I hope Oman all remember what Ahmed said when he said what Oman is to him. Oman is soul. I think we're kind of forgetting that. And I think this is what we need to remember, that we are one in this. Nobody is against anyone. But if we're going to be irresponsible and not take the responsibility, things won't work. If it's pandemic, if it's economy, if it's anything, nobody's gonna win. And being negative never makes anyone win. So I hope, like we are here today working together, that Oman remembers what is the Omani, what people say about Omaniyin, because we seem to have forgotten a little bit of that soul that we're supposed to have.
Ahmed?
Well, it's again a pleasure to be a part of this discussion, and inshallah we'll have more to come. I really hope that from our point of view, we go back racing in a positive way. I hope to be able to make everybody proud and seeing the flag fly again on the racetrack soon, inshallah. But when we do that, rest assured we will take every measurement possible to make sure that we are either being safe going there and to be safe coming back, inshallah, to Oman. And I really hope that, again, I'll say it again, that we learn from this. And I really hope that if we could change, today's discussion could change one or two people's thoughts and mindsets, I think this would have been an absolute, amazing outcome from this discussion. And it was great to have being on this discussion with yourselves and Sayyid Basma. So inshallah, we'll see you soon.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. I would really like to thank our honorable guests, Sayyida Basma and Ahmed, for attending this wonderful webinar and sharing with us their understanding and the meaning of mind, body, and soul, and touching up a bit on their experiences. Thank you very much. On behalf of OQ, this is Dr. Ali Lawati, your host of today. Thank you very much.
فينا واختفت الأعياد وانطفأت في القلب شمعة أمل واشتعل سهاد ساق الله لنا البشرى أبدلنا العسرى يسرا وأتى خير الظروف هلال ينبئ بالأفراح بالأهل وبوصل الأحباب حرصا لنحول لحظات الأزمات فرصا بوقوف في الشدة صفا مرخصا كي نحكي عن فرح الأعياد قصصا عنوان القصص كفاحا شعبا بالله استغنى يستيقظ كل صباح والأمل لموالا يفنى خير الظروف تجلى فينا مهما ضاقت فالناتج خير لحظات الأزمات فرصا بوقوف في الشدة صفا مرخصا